Yep, and we also have to invest in the capacity for those controls. Senator Ossoff.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank you and Senator Romney for working together so vigorously to protect taxpayer dollars and for holding this hearing on these extraordinary abuses, a level of fraud that I think is shocking to the whole subcommittee. With the benefit of your attendance, Inspector General Horowitz, and given the extended conversations that you and I have had on a range of issues over the last few years, I'm going to range a bit out of the direct focus of this hearing and into some of your other jurisdiction. And I want to begin with a discussion of the Bureau of Prisons. And as you'll recall, Mr. Horowitz, when I chaired the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations last Congress, led multiple bipartisan investigations of the Bureau of Prisons and issues related to incarceration. We found, for example, that at U.S. Penitentiary Atlanta, that serious long-term security breaches that put the community and the whole Southeast region at risk were left unaddressed. We found pretty extreme cases of abuse and neglect of incarcerated people, including pretrial detainees held at the jail there. We found detainees and inmates lacking access to clean drinking water, hygiene products, medical care, a whole range of serious problems that had gone on for a long time. And I noticed that your office's recent work has found serious deficiencies at other facilities like FCI Tallahassee, an unannounced inspection that you led, which found moldy, rotten, pest-infested food, serious maintenance issues, putting health and safety at risk. Senators Braun, Durbin, and I introduced the bipartisan Federal Prison Oversight Act earlier this year, which provides for unannounced investigations by the Office of the DOJ Inspector General. Can you explain, please, why those unannounced prison investigations are so important?
Absolutely, and thank you, Senator, for the question. And by the way, I'm going this Friday to visit USP Atlanta with the new BOP director to get a tour of the reopened facility.
I appreciate that, and in the future, you should also consider an unannounced inspection.
Well, now getting to the unannounced inspections, one of the things Congress did last year in funding us, and a critical part of the appropriations bill, was to give us additional money to do these unannounced inspections. It's the first time we've ever done them, and what happens is we're showing up at a prison on a Monday morning at 8 a.m., we're calling the warden and saying we're coming at noon with our team, and we're going to spend the week there to inspect your prison. We did the first one at the federal prison in Waseca, Minnesota, earlier this year. We selected Waseca because it was an all-women's institution. We've had, as you know from your leadership on the subcommittee, serious issues with sexual assaults against women in prison. You and Senator Johnson issued a very important bipartisan report in that regard. So we went to Waseca to see what was going on there. Because it had scored as a low risk, it was our first one, we wanted to see what happened. We got there, we found holes in the roofs of the buildings, pipes running across beds that were leaking, and camera issues, which again you've helped lead, I know, on that effort to get the camera bill passed, and all sorts of problems in an institution that was relatively low risk, about whom we had gotten fewer complaints. And we let the BOP know about the crumbling facilities, for example, cascading problems, by the way, with staffing. First Step Act. One of the things Congress passed was the First Step Act to give inmates a chance to rehabilitate. Huge wait lists because the educators were being pulled off educating to do correctional officer duty because they were short-staffed. They were short-staffed in healthcare. They were short-staffed in facilities management. All of the things we would not have appreciated until we got on the ground. That was our first report, and that's public on our website. Our second one was at a higher risk prison, FCI Tallahassee. We went to at the end of May. We issued the report last week. What we found there was stunning, is a nice word. We got there, on day 2, we went to the kitchen to observe food service, as you mentioned, bread with mold on it, rotting vegetables, all being served to inmates. We went to the warehouse to look at the food, what appeared to be rodent droppings. We didn't actually see the rodents. We saw bugs crawling in the boxes of cereal. We saw the damaged containers and the rotting containers. It was stunning to see that. No, it was not a humane place to be. We went to the living facilities, again, leaking windows. Again, primarily a female institution. Feminine hygiene products were being used to stop the leaks into the facility. We published pictures, by the way. Anybody wants to see this? There are pictures of this, extraordinary pictures on our website.
I want to return to prisons in a moment, but I first want to raise another DOJ-related issue with you. The subcommittee I chair now received testimony from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which found that from 2018 to 2022 in my home state of Georgia, there were nearly 1,800 reports to NCMEC of children missing from foster care, and according to NCMEC's analysis, they believe that over 400 of those children were likely victims of sex trafficking. It's crucial that DOJ have the resources and infrastructure to work with NCMEC to track and locate missing foster children and to hold accountable those who traffic them. Can you and I sit down to discuss a plan of attack on that?
Absolutely. NCMEC has done great work. As SIGI chair, they've done a lot of work with us and the community on helping with missing children.
I would note, for the purposes of that work that we'll do together, that DOJ's Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, which administers federal grants to states under the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act, there are conditions on those grants. To receive full funding, state grantees have to comply with certain core requirements. Here's one of them, that children who commit what are known as status offenses, or offenses that would not be criminal if committed by adults, like running away from a foster care placement, cannot be placed in juvenile detention or correctional facilities. Is your office currently undertaking any work to oversee the implementation of that legislation or other issues related to foster kids?
Yeah. So we are not doing anything currently, and I'd be happy to sit down with you to talk about that. We have done work in the past about the issue you mentioned, about detention facilities and how OJJDP, which is the acronym for the entity in the Justice Department that manages those grants, we're handling that with states, and we've found some serious issues with that before. So this is an important issue, and I'd be happy to talk with you further about it.
I appreciate that, and thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging some questions that strayed from the focus of your hearing. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Senator Ossoff.